fmtraining.tv. My name is Margaret. I'll be your broadcast engineer for today. I'm here with the wonderful Jonathan Ray. Jonathan has been a senior engineer with RCC for a very long time, and we greatly appreciate him coming on to talk about a variety of FileMaker topics. He's one of our best presenters, seriously. Really great at explaining everything. So we're happy to have him on. Thank you, Jonathan, for coming.
All right, sure thing.
So let's bring up the schedule and talk about today. So we do this 5 days a week. So today we're discussing secret number 1 to database speed performance, which is always a really interesting topic. Making sure that FileMaker does not slow to a crawl and die on you is always important, and ways to find to improve that is always an object of interest to FileMaker developers. So as of next week, we are starting our Law and Disorder series for FileMaker beginners. So basically, we're doing it's from the top. If you are an intermediate to FileMaker developer who hasn't really worked with FileMaker in a while, or if you have topics you're not sure on, or if you're completely new to the FileMaker platform, this is really what this series is for. We pretty much cover like a very rough 30 to 35 day cover of enough to like get you the understanding of what you look at FileMaker, you know what it is, and you get the gist of how to like get out of in and out of layout mode and out of browse mode. Basics of security, stuff like that. All the days have specific subtags, so if you want to drop in for specific topics, you can, if your topics interest you. Otherwise, you can follow the series from beginning to end. As of next Monday, it'll be Richard. Richard will be presenting for that one, so which means that you know it'll be exciting. If nothing else. If you'd like to support the channel, we would greatly appreciate it. Every once in a while, I will get a comment like, you guys are really great, you cover a lot of really interesting topics, but the question and answers doesn't work for me, or I really need to be shorter. And this is what this is for. So these are FM Training annual subscription bundles. Pretty much all the videos are bite-sized content, 7 minutes to 20 minutes to 30 minutes at like max. They're all animated. They all cover very specific topics. Anchor Buoy is a multi-video discussion in this. Variables. I just watched the videos on reporting the other day because I had to make reports for my father in a database he's working on. So they're all very condensed, very topic specific, and we cover the intricacies of most platforms in the FileMaker platform. So I always bring up server because a lot of people who work with FileMaker for a long time don't work with FileMaker server. We have an entire series of how to work with FileMaker server. Go, WebDirect, all that jazz. So if you've bought this, thank you very much. Seriously, it keeps the channel running. It helps keep the channel running. We greatly appreciate it. This one comes with FileMaker. If you're like, man, I really want FileMaker, and I don't have it yet, feel free to pick up that one, or you need another seat for some reason. Okay, with that being said, I think we're good. Jonathan, what are we doing today?
All right. Well, yeah, I want to just comment on something you said, Margaret, too.
Mm-hmm.
If you guys are watching some of these archives of these live streams and it's seeming too long to you sometimes, what I always do is I put it on 2x speed. And if you're not familiar with the speed setting, you just go to the YouTube video and you go to settings and you put a speed option, and that's helpful because sometimes we tend to talk too slowly or something, and so that's free. That wasn't included in my notes.
I haven't thought about that, but that's a good idea. That's
right.
Nifty.
Yep. All right. Well, I'm going to just jump in here. We're talking about increasing the speed of your database, speed performance. If you have a database with say 100 records in it, it tends to perform pretty fast, and then you get up to 1,000, 2,000, whatever, and you're like, man, it's just getting progressively slower. What's happening? What's going on? And how do I fix this? Because it's hard to even gauge sometimes. It's like I'm just getting the spinning wheel like a lot, and I can't put my finger on it, and I do a find and it's slow, and I enter records and it's slow, and I go to the next record and navigate 2 records, I sort and it's slow. Everything is slow. Like FileMaker is slow. And it's not that FileMaker is slow, it's that there are certain techniques that you really need to master, and this one is a fundamental one on making things fast and scalable. Whether you have 100 records or 100 million records, you can have a very fast database, but you have to watch out for a specific landmine. That's what we're talking about today with unstored calculations. Okay, so we're going to jump in right now, and I will share my screen. Margaret, let me know if you can see that.
Yep, we got you. You're good.
Good to go? Okay. Mm-hmm. So this should look pretty familiar to you if you have been watching the show for long. This is our flagship product, FM Starting Point. Okay, this is what it looks like now. And if you go to the invoices, right, it's this very you know bright looking screen. A few years ago, this is what it looked like. Okay, and several versions back, what we noticed was that in invoices specifically, we had several fields that were unstored calculations. Okay, and then in subsequent versions, we fixed all that, right? But if you happen to have got FM Starting Point, say 5 years ago or so, and we're using it, and you're like, man, it just seems to be going slower and slower. What's going on? This is not only like the fix for you, but if you're not using a copy of FM Starting Point, you have your own thing. Um, the same technique, of course, applies, right? How do you identify unstored calculations? What are the problems with them? And how do you substitute them out? Okay, so here's a demonstration. I have around 1,000 records, all test records loaded up here in a copy of FM Starting Point from several years ago, and it's on a server. Okay, and you notice that up here I have total line items. Okay, and this one says 119. Now watch as I start going through the records. Okay, some of them that have like 14 line items, it takes a split second to go to the record. Okay. Others, I'm waiting, spinning, spinning, spinning. Okay. So 3 or 4 seconds, right? And I can't just flip through the records as fast as I can click on the button. That should be the speed that you're able to go in FileMaker. Even if you're connecting to a server, you should be able to go next, 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 next. And it just should be snappy. Here, it's just, it's grinding to a halt. Now, if I do something crazy and I do, like I enter into find mode, Command F, and I do something like I want to find all of the invoices that are greater than $1,000, right? That's a very helpful little find there. And now we're performing a find on an unstored calculation, right? And it's just grinding. You're like, man, why is it taking this long to do this sort of thing? Okay. And who knows how long this is going to take. The other thing that you'll find is if I go into list view and start sorting through or scrolling through the 1,000 records, and that list view has these unstored calculations on it, the totals, it's just going to grind, right? And it's not going to go as fast. You try sorting on that unstored calculation, and like it may crash your database at some point because it's just going very slow. The good news is that there's a fix to this, and it's a fix that we can cover like in the time of this live stream here. Okay, it's something that you can do, and you just have to understand this technique, understand why unstored calculations are bad for business. Okay, and then understand how to substitute them. So that's the topic of the day, Margaret.
Awesome.
All right, so let's just jump in here, unless we have any questions. I'm guessing we don't yet
Nope, you're
at this
good.
point here. All right, great. So I'm going to drop into layout mode here. Okay. First thing first, if I go up to View, okay, View, Show, and then Quick Find. Let me just turn this off to show you what happens. Okay, you see all these fields here. Okay, in the far right of each field, it's blank. If I come here to View, Show, Quick Find, okay, every field that now has a little green dot on it, okay, means that it's not an unstored calculation. All right, I'm sure there's a better way of explaining that. But any field that has a little yellow dot, okay, like this, either means that it's a calculation or unstored calculation, or it's coming from a related field. Okay, like on this portal, all of these fields are lit up with little yellow. And that means, okay, amongst other things, that if you try to do a find on one of these guys or sort, it's going to be very slow versus some field that's indexed that's going to be lightning fast, right? So even if you're using the newest version of FileMaker, even if you have an upgraded system and it's like, you know, just maxed out on memory and everything, your processor is great, you will still have a very slow database if you don't get rid of some of these unstored calculations. That doesn't mean that you just like delete the field, right? And you're like, I guess I'll have to live without having a total field. No, there's a way to give you that same result, but bypass all the sluggishness. Okay, so that's what we'll be talking about. So the first thing you do, what I'm saying is that if your view show quick find is not turned on, go ahead and turn that on. Okay, and then you'll look just visually at your layout and you'll go, all right, are there any fields on here that have the little yellow dot? Okay, and you can see like there's a good many of them. Okay, and this one here too, right? So this total line items is looking at this portal, this list of line items, and saying, how many do we have in this list? Now calculate that. But what it's doing is it's an unstored calculation. It is every time you flip through the records, it's calculating that. It's calculating it on the fly. So if I flip to record number 2 here, okay, the calculation has to perform on this field. FileMaker has to say, okay, how many records are in this list for record number 2 when I click on it? And FileMaker has to ask the question, all right, now what's the amount due? What's the total? What's the tax? What's the, it has to ask 10 questions or so. And some of these calculations reference other unstored calculations. So now it's asking several questions just for one field, okay? And if you have any unstored calculations in the portal, okay, let's say you have unit cost and unit price, I know, are unstored right now. That means that FileMaker, what it's doing is it's asking the question for this one and performing the calculation for every single record on this portal, all 119. Okay, so how many questions and calculations is it asking? What we're talking about, 1 plus 119 plus 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So you have, say, 125 calculations it's doing for record number 1 at least. In this case, it's a little bit less, right? And you're wondering why it takes so long. And some of these are already cached, right? Like once it performs the calculation, like if I go to record number 600 here, right, it's going to spin. Zzz, okay, it performed that calculation. If I go backwards, it's very fast because it cached that data. It's now in memory, right? And I go back to the record, now it's fast. But the initial load of that record is very slow because it's doing all of those calculations for that one record, putting it into memory so that it remembers those calculations when you go back to that record. Okay, this is just not a good thing, and we can avoid that. Okay, at some point, if you come here to FileMaker Pro and you go into settings or preferences, right, and you come here to memory, if you have FileMaker like right out of the box and you haven't changed the setting, this memory option by default will be set to 128 megabytes, okay, which is like extremely, extremely low. That means that there's only so much memory that FileMaker is going to hold in its little cache, right? So as you flip through records, it's storing stuff into memory. It's caching data. But if you have a very low threshold on the memory, at some point it just, the oldest pieces of memory, it slices off, okay? So one thing you can do right out of the box here, okay, before you even change any calculations, is come up here and at least put it to a gigabyte, right? I have it at 2 gigabytes, so 2048 megabytes. And then to save that change, you close FileMaker, you quit completely, right? quit FileMaker Pro, and then when you open it, that setting will now be saved. That right there could speed up your database by a lot. It could be that FileMaker is trying to cache a lot of data. You're trying to make it do a lot, but it's just exhausted, right? It's trying to put a bunch of stuff in the living room into one box, and then eventually that box can't hold all your stuff, and so you're having to remove the stuff that you put in the bottom of the box out to put more stuff in. That's the memory analogy there. Okay, so with that being said, I'm going to jump in here and show you how to fix some of this stuff. Okay, layout mode, and we said we're going to look for the little yellow dots. Here it is. You can either write this down like in a text edit document or something, but hopefully there's not going to be too many of these fields, and you can just remember them. So total amount due and total order price. We want these things to be showing up with little green dots. Okay, so I'm going to go up here to File, Manage Database. Okay, and then into Tables, Invoices. One easy way of doing this, okay, is to come up here to the Type column and just clicking on it, and then you can see all of the calculations kind of grouped together. So here are all our calculations. Now, you can see that some of them are not unstored, meaning that they're similar to an auto enter text field. A stored calculation is. I'm not worried about that. Maybe in the future, you'd want to change that to a text field with an auto enter, but for right now, I could kind of care less. Okay, same with all of these ones. Okay, none of these are unstored, but this one here, okay, is unstored. And if I click on it, here's what I keep when I mean unstored. Here's what I mean. You go to storage options, and this guy here is checked. It means that I want you to recalculate this calculation, this field, every single time you see it referenced. So every time you click on a new record, anytime you see this thing in a portal, in a list view, recalculate it. Okay, and it puts tremendous strain on a database. Okay, so unstored calculations are what keep Nick Hunter up at night. Like they're the thing of his nightmares. That's what he's told me. And so if you don't want to give him nightmares, you get rid of some of your unstored calculations. Now there are times where you do need unstored calculations and they're not going to kill your database. But when you do the types of stuff that this layout is doing with the amount due and the total and that type of deal, it's not good. Okay, so if I come here to, where is it? Total amount due, total grand. You see that both of these say unstored. So the first thing that you can do here, I can come here to total grand and then to storage options. The first thing you can try to do on a calculation is try to uncheck that guy, right? Sometimes it's being unstored for no reason, and you can have a stored calculation and that solves the whole problem. Okay, on this one, you can't. It's saying, no, there's no way you can have a stored calculation because it's referencing something that is unstored. Okay, so here's what we're going to do. Let's see. So that is the sum of order total price. Okay, and then total amount due, you can see is a calculation. It's saying if this invoice is paid, then there's nothing due. Else, it's order total price minus the deposit minus the partial payments. Okay, so let's see if this allows us to just turn it off. And it says no, there's a couple things that you have to, there's a couple unstored calculations or summary fields or something, or a global field that this calculation is referencing, and you can't just turn it off. You're like, okay, so what do I do? So now I'm going to go through this calculation. Because I can't just turn the unstored calculation setting off, I need to track down the references. So I'm going to go now to order total price, and see if I can make that a stored calculation. Okay, so order total price is right here. Okay, so right now you can see it's unstored. I come here to storage options, and let's just see if I can turn it off. It says no. Okay, and we'll see why in a second. So I'm going to come here to subtotal price. I'm kind of going down the rabbit hole, right? Subtotal price, and there it is. Ah, okay. So it is referencing. It's trying to get us the sum of everything that is in the line items. Okay, so you have this big list of line items, it's like 100 related records. And this field right here is saying, I want you to go through and for all 100 records, give me the total of the price for all of them. And of course, you cannot turn this storage option off because you're referencing a related field and a summary of it. So it's not going to allow you to do that. All right. So so there's kind of the problem, at least, right? Let's see. So the first thing first is we have to make this a regular number field, okay? And we'll have to populate it. All right. And I'll show you how to do that. Now, another thing here in invoice line items, come here. I know that unit cost and unit price are both unstored, which is not good. Okay, that's this column and this column. And so what's happening is that the subtotal and the order, all of these like total fields are referencing these two fields, and these two fields are unstored, which is bad, right? So I come here to unit cost, and let's just see if I can turn that thing off. It says, no, you can't turn it off. All right, so what do? I come here and I look at the calculation, and all it's trying to do is get the cost from that product. Okay, so back here, let's say this product number 040, okay, this unit cost, all it's trying to do is get that cost from products. So I'm thinking to myself, how can I make this field not an unstored calculation? What you can do is come here and change this to a number field, Command N, okay? And I'm going to make this thing into a lookup, okay? Now, in invoices, I'm looking at this product through the product ID and grabbing the cost, okay? And the same thing for unit price, Command N. And I'm going to make this a lookup. Same thing. I'm grabbing the price from products, okay? Now, when I hit OK, these two fields are no longer going to be unstored calculations, and that's great, right? But all of these values, unit cost and unit price, in all of the records, all 962, are going to disappear, okay? It's going to be blank. And I have to come up with a way of populating those values. Here's what I mean. So I'm going to hit OK, and you're going to watch it spin for a second. Okay, boom. And now it affected all of my invoices, all of my line items. You're like, oh man, so I just blew up my database. No, you have to come to a line items screen, and you need to back populate those prices. Okay, so I come here to, where is it? Maintenance, invoice line items. Okay, here's unit price. So we'll start there. And there's 173,000 of these things. I'm going to replace the field contents. Okay, invoice line items. And I want through ID product, the price. Okay, and I'm going to backfill all of these records, replace. Okay, it's going to take a little bit. And what you can do, if this just slugs along, you can you can perform this process on the server. Okay, and that's probably what I'll do because I'm not going to wait for a couple hours here. Okay, so stop. Okay, I'm going to open up a script and we'll create a quick script here. Okay, and I'm going to say backfill unit cost and price. Okay, and it's going to be go to layout. This will be line items, the invoice line items. Maintenance, yeah. Okay. Show all records. Replace field contents. Okay, that will be unit cost. Okay, I'm going quickly here. Let's see, and then ID product, cost. Okay, and then this one will be the price. Okay, price. All right, commit off. Okay, and that's it. Now, what I'm going to do is put a button on this maintenance layout. And this is going to say perform script on server. Okay, perform script on server. And it's going to be this backfill thing. So what we just did is we create a script that will not only replace the contents of this field, but do so on the server, which is exactly what we want. Okay, and it'll be a lot faster. Okay, wait for completion on. Hopefully this won't take forever and a day, but let's see. Okay, so now it's going to spin, and hopefully it won't be severely long, but it's going to back populate the unit price and the unit cost. And that way, after we're done with this whole process, after the server backfills everything in, then what we will have done is created a cached field. Instead of an unstored calculation that just makes your database grind to a halt, we've just replaced it with a field that just has a stored value in it. And it's not recalculating every single time that the record is referenced. Okay. And then after we're done with this line item thing here, then we'll go back to the invoices and try to work on those total fields. So now's a good time, Margaret, for me to take a breath and see if we have any questions.
Yeah, we do have questions. So I'll
Sure.
do the first one, which we got from Michelle Gravel on YouTube. For a pro, it is okay to change the memory, but it is worthless for WebDirect? Question mark.
Yeah, basically. Yeah.
So, next question. Won't doing this backfill kill off anything that may have had a different price at some time prior?
That is correct. So right now, when I'm doing this backfill, the assumption is that the prices have not changed at all. Okay. So what you can do, if you've had a database that's existed for a long time, no doubt you're going to have prices that have changed. In that case, what you'll probably want to do is create two temporary fields. Okay. And they're going to be like unit cost temporary and unit price temporary. And then the backfill, what you're going to do there is this replace. Instead of replacing it from what's in products right now, you're going to do a replace in the two temporary fields. Okay. You're going to say, I'm going to populate this blank unit price temporary field with the unit price field. So whatever is in this unstored calculation unit price, fill that into the temporary unit price, right? And so you run the script, and it's still kind of grinding along here. You run that script, then you'll have two cached fields with the right values, not necessarily the ones that are coming from products, right? That are the prices now. You want the prices then. Okay. And so afterwards, after you have that cached, Then you go back to the unit price and unit cost fields and change them to be numbers. Okay, regular number fields with the lookup value. And then you do another backfill from the temporary fields into the live fields again. And if that's really confusing, I'm sorry, but that's the best way I can kind of explain that. And then after that, then you delete those two temporary fields. So that way you are getting the data as it exists, not right now, but the way it was when the record was created. I'm hoping that that's helpful and makes sense.
And then David adds, could you repopulate too with the relookup step?
Could you repopulate with the relookup step?
Mm-hmm.
Yes, you could. Yes, you could. Now, which one is faster? The re I'm not quite sure, because relookup and replace field contents are both script steps, which are going to be a little bit slower than if you could try to backfill it with the database calculation engine itself. So you could do a relookup, and that would be fine too. Basically, you'd go into ID line item and then come up to records and say relookup, and then it will trigger both of the unit price and the unit cost. I'm not sure which one is faster though. Hoping the script is able to finish soon, or we're going to have to quit FileMaker and reopen it.
But for a moment, we got questions. So mean copy
Sure.
to a temp field, then change to unstored, then copy back from temp field? Question mark.
Correct. All right. We're all caught up on that then?
I think we're good, yeah.
Okay. What I'm going to do then, I'm not going to make us wait and wait. You can see how bad this is, right? Whenever you're trying to do stuff like this and backfill it, it takes a while. And this brings up a good point too. When you're making this transition over from doing this, it's probably a good idea to take the file down from the server, try to do this locally. Okay. And that will be a lot better in the long run, because doing this locally on your computer, right, this backfilling thing is going to be a lot faster than trying to finagle it on the server. All right. So I need to do what no one should ever do, and that is force quit FileMaker. Now I'm going to open this guy back up. 1 second. All right. So we do have a good amount backfilled, but they're not all the way there. How many? Yeah. So it quit at about, I don't know. But that's good there. Okay. So from there, then let's go back in to invoice line items.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And then here's unit cost, unit price, and their lookup fields. So if I come here and I create a brand new record, okay, and I go add line and, whatever it is, you can see now that I'm getting that unit price, okay, but it's a lookup field. So it's looking up right on the spot. And then it never has to calculate again unless you intentionally tell it to relookup. It is now a cached field and not unstored. Okay, it is a stored value that FileMaker doesn't have to put into temporary memory every time it's being referenced. Okay, that's exactly what we want. All right, so now that those two fields are stored values, okay, now we have to work on these other ones here. So show quick find. Okay, so let's go ahead and work on the subtotals. I think that's the best place to start. Subtotal cost, and you can see here. Here's the calculation, and what you can do. You can come here and you can pull up a text document and say, okay, for subtotal cost, this is the calculation. Okay, and then you copy the other ones. subtotal net is this calculation. And then you keep going. Subtotal price. And I'll show you why this is helpful in a second. Total price. Okay. Subtotal taxable. And then just going to copy that. Okay. From there, let's go down. Total amount due. Okay. Total grand. Total grand. You can see I'm making my list here. Total amount due. Oh, we already got that one. Okay, sum total payments. We'll need to put that one right there. Okay, and I think there's a couple other ones. Order total cost. Yep, we need that one. Almost done with this.
You're good.
Okay, and then order total. And then number of line items. This is another unstored calculation, right?
Mm-hmm.
All right. So these are all my culprits. These are all the things that are keeping Nick Hunter up at night, okay? These are all the unstored calculations. We're going to try to convert them all, okay? So first, here's what we do. First things first is we are going to create a script, okay? And in this script, I'm going to, I'm just going to duplicate this one. Okay. In this script here, we'll say script trigger. Okay. And we'll say invoices recalculate totals. Okay. This is going to be our script trigger. And basically, we're going to come here. We are going to go to layout. Or actually, we don't need to go to layout. Okay, set field. First one, this is why we copied all this stuff down, is subtotal cost. Subtotal cost. Oh, it's not sorted. Great. Okay, subtotal cost. Okay, then we put this in here. Boom. Okay, and we keep going down the line. And what you're seeing here is this is a triggering mechanism. Instead of having FileMaker calculate everything on the fly, we're going to track down any time that a invoice could be changed. We're going to put this script trigger onto that field or into that process and make it recalculate anytime that it's changed, right? Hope that makes sense. So we go subtotal net is this. This field cannot be, okay, sometimes you'll see that and it's asking for a complete reference right there. Okay. All right. Now that one references subtotal price. And so that one, so subtotal price needs to be above that. Okay. I hope that you caught what I'm saying. So if something down the line, if subtotal net is referencing subtotal price, but we haven't updated that, that has to come first. It's like this domino chain. Okay. Subtotal price is this. Okay. Then and how I'm doing this, I'm clicking on this and hitting Command D to duplicate. Okay. Subtotal taxable. And that is this. And it says this cannot be found. Of course it can't, right? Come here, shipping. Okay, now we keep going. Order total cost, right, is this. You see here that we have subtotal cost. We have to make sure that we've already updated that in the script steps above. And here it is, subtotal cost, so we're good. If I had put this field above that one, then it's going to be out of order and the total is not going to be accurate. Okay, subtotal price We're getting there. Okay. I think all I need to do is change that. Nope. Okay. And then we have sum total partial payments. Sum total partial payments. It's here. Just 3 more fields to go. Okay. Then we have total amount due. Okay, status needs to be there. Okay. There's that. Duplicate. Total grand. Okay. And again, when you do these types of calculations, sometimes it's going to squawk at you if you're not putting in the full reference. Okay. And then number of line items. This one is that. Okay, then we commit and we say with dialog off. That's it. Okay. Now we're going to test this to make sure this actually works. So what we're going to do here again, come into database, and now I'm going to turn all of those unstored calculations off. Okay, I'm going to make them regular number fields. So total grand is going to be a number field. Total amount due, a regular old number field. We have subtotal taxable. And we did that one, right? Subtotal. Oh, I don't think we did that one. That's probably a good thing to do. Okay, subtotal taxable. At least I don't see it. Okay, don't save. We'll change that one too in the script. Okay, change that to a number. Yep. And then come here. Appreciate everyone's patience on this. I'm just showing you how to do this live. Subtotal price, subtotal net. Wish we could change them all in one little fail swoop, but you can't. Sales tax. Do we do sales tax? That's another one we need to do. Okay. We do that. Come here, profit percentage. That is another one we need to do. Okay. We'll get there.
No, you're good.
Okay. Come here. Change. Order total price. Order total cost. Okay, number of line items. Sale margin. Okay, I'm just looking through here. I think that's it. Pretty sure. Okay, now when I hit OK, all of the totals are going to go away, right? Boom, they're gone. So I'm going to come here to scripts. We have to do a couple of these here. Subtotal taxable. Subtotal taxable is this. Sales tax is that. Nope, it doesn't like that. Subtotal taxable discount sales rate. Okay. And then profit percentage. Profit percentage is this. Okay, and on this one has to be below subtotal net and subtotal price. That's good. That's good. And discount. Yep, I think we're all right. All right, so now we're going to test this thing. So all of this is blank. So to test to see if this thing actually worked, we can debug this. Hit script debugger, hit play. There we go. and we'll step through this here. We can see it on the right. Step. Okay. Now it's adding stuff. Subtotal cost, subtotal price, subtotal sales tax, net, percentage, taxable, cost, price, partial payments, amount due. That one, that one, that one. Okay. So that script trigger now needs to be attached to anything that is going to change this value. So that would be the quantity, that would be the taxable, that would be unit cost and unit price. All of these need to have that script trigger on them. And then I'm guessing the discount would need that script trigger, and like the shipping. So that's the type of thing you'll do, right? So if I come here, I can click all of these, select all of them, script triggers, on object, and we can hit on object save, I believe will work. Script trigger, recalculate totals. Let's see if this works. So if I change this to say like 30, then the total should change. If I go to the next record, boom. Okay, so what you just saw there, okay, is not a field that's an unstored calculation that just recalculated. What you just saw was a field with a script trigger on it that put the correct value into all these fields on the spot. It is now cached. Okay. The same with unit price. If I put in like 100, this should change. Boom. And of course it does change. So you go through all of the times that something could trigger a change, like this delete button. That needs to have that script attached to it. Okay. So this delete button, okay, it has a particular script, all this stuff, right? And at the very end, what I can do is perform script and put the script trigger. Update amount. Okay, that should work. Let's see. Here we go. So if I delete, if everything works properly, then the total should decrease. Delete. Boom, it did not work. So something went wrong. Let's see. I hit delete. It says, yes, I want to delete. Delete. Go to portal. Okay. Oh, I put the wrong script trigger in there. That's why. Okay, so this is the wrong script. I should put this one. And then let's see if this changes. So keep your eye on the amount total. And it does. Okay, so I'm not going to bore you with the details here. I would, to make this complete, I would need to add that script trigger script to the add line button. Anytime something's added, it needs to recalculate. And then I would add it to the discount field. I would add it to deposit and shipping. So anything that could make the total, the amount due, all of those otherwise unstored calculations, right, change, then you put that script trigger on them. That's the idea. Now watch. If I come here to layout mode, you see what just happened. All of these fields now, we need to correct the margin calc, but all these other fields are green, which is great, right? So margin calc would be, let's see, margin calc. For right now, I'm just going to leave that. Actually, here's a great case. Come here and hit do not store. So it doesn't have to be an unstored calculation. There it is. Now we have a green icon. So you remember how slow this was at the beginning. It was just grinding. So watch this now. If I go to the next record. Okay, it's very fast. Now, what you have to do on this is you have to backfill all this other um, all the other records. And basically, the way that you do that um, is you can create a script. This is just a real easy way. Okay. Call it backfill and say something like loop, and then you're just looping through the records, exit script, or go to next record, exit after last, right? Commit. This one would be go to first record. Okay. And I'm not going to run it on all 963 of these. Okay. But I'll show you just how it is, and then I'll pause it. So I'm going to hit play, and then it's just going to keep going. It's going to spin for a while and just go to the next. It'll take it several minutes to backfill all 963 records. But when it's done, then all of the values are cached. Okay. So I can come here to Tools, Script Debugger, and just hit stop on this. You can see it's done 67 in that time. So now watch when I go to the next record how fast this is. Boom, 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 boom. And these are ones that would have been very slow before. Okay. Here's the big takeaway from this. If you have a very slow database, within a matter of what has it been, 40 minutes, 45 minutes, we have just made this database like substantially faster, like big time. And if I do a find now on something like give me all invoices that are over $1,000, boom. I mean, it's just instant. You can do then a sort on total amount due, which was an unstored calculation. Boom. Like it's not even a half a second, right? And so that is the huge takeaway from this whole live stream, is that you can make your database a lot faster, but it comes down to tracking down where are all my unstored calculations, making a whole list of them, okay, changing them to regular old number fields, and then filling the data back in. And you have to be very careful, right? So it may mean that you take a backup of the database, do your test on it, make sure that everything is working properly, all the triggers are firing, all the fields are displaying properly, and then and only then do it on the live copy. So that's where I'm going to stop. And I know we have just a couple of minutes, see if we have any questions or comments there.
Yes, we do have actually 3 questions. So.
Sure.
First one, abruptly closing FileMaker while psauce with wait on is running. Will it continue running on the server, or will it kill the process on the server?
I think that there's a timeout on the server. I don't know if it kills the process right away. It might. That might have been what happened. So if I run a perform script on server, in fact, I'm pretty sure that's the case. If I run a perform script on server and it's spinning out of control and I have to force quit it, when I force quit it, it'll also kill that process too. I'm fairly certain about that. And I think that's what we just saw too.
Yes, that's why they were asking.
Yeah.
Scripting the calculations is a good way to control the recalculations. Nick likes to use a trigger field, which all the auto calcs by referencing the trigger left and let calc, and let the database update the fields without a script. Question, is scripting faster? Presumably because you can control the order of calculations.
No, you can do it the way Nick does it for sure, and it probably is faster his way. What I'm showing you is something that I think is maybe more palatable. If you're familiar with scripting at all and you understand how loops work, you can just do this. Okay. Nick's way is a little bit more advanced, and I'm just hoping that this is just more doable for folks. But I think that's probably the way to go for absolute optimal speed in backfilling things.
I would say so. Like I said, I followed along, and I will say that I am not nearly enough of an advanced developer to understand a lot of what Nick does. So,
right.
Follow-up for background. For cascading autocalcs, is the engine smart enough to know which ones to calculate first, or does it go through a predetermined order, which could then cause some fields to be recalculated possibly numerous times?
No, I think it's smart enough. I think it's smart enough. Which is a testament to FileMaker. That's great.
Yes. And then last question. Placing unstored calc fields inside a popover will not calculate while switching records? Question mark.
Say that again.
If you place unstored calculation fields inside of a popover,
Mhm.
will it not calculate when you swap records?
Correct. So this is a very, very important point, okay? So if I have, let's say I have this database and it was the way it was, right? With lots of unstored calculations everywhere, okay? If I hide those fields, if I put them to the right of the layout where you can't see them, or I put them in a popover, when I'm flipping through records, it's going to be very fast because FileMaker's not showing you them, and therefore it's not calculating them for you. Once you're able to see them and they're visible on the screen, okay, not in a popover, then that's when it's going to slow down. The same thing is true for this portal, right? So there's 116 records here. FileMaker has not cached all 116 because it's not showing me all of them. But when I scroll down, like eventually it caches a certain amount at a time, right? And it tries to figure you're not going to scroll extremely fast. Hope I'm explaining that right. But so it doesn't even cache all of these portal rows, just a certain amount of them until you start scrolling down. The same with a list view.
I think that is all of our questions on YouTube and Twitch, unless anyone else has any follow-up ones. Thank you very much, Jonathan. Seriously, it's very cool to see a database go from incredibly slow to actually pretty speedy in the space of, like you said, 40 minutes. So
yeah, and I know there was a lot of downtime there because we're doing just monotonous type of calculation stuff.
Yes.
But it's good for you to see that this is doable, and an incredible working over of your database doesn't have to take months, okay, to do this. You can make your database fast.
Yeah, no, this is very cool. And like I said, I like the fact you went step by step through it because that way it's easy to follow along with what's happening. Okay. Seriously, Jonathan, thank you very much. I will share to my screen and wrap it up. Thank you, everybody. We will see you Monday.
All right. Thanks, everyone. Bye.
Got a report of an individual up here who may be a FileMaker license. Well, it's potentially expired. Look at the back of that car right there. Looks like the FileMaker license has expired. Sir, I need you to step out of the vehicle. Sir, step out of the vehicle. Sir!